The other day, someone mentioned to me that they'd love to learn about blockchains and gaming, so this one's for you. There's three major components to blockchains that make them useful for gaming. The first is it's great at tracking money, so it knows who has what, where that money's going to, and where it's coming from. The second is asset ownership. Whether it's digital or physical, it can be tracked on a blockchain and it can monitor all the transactioning happening with that property. The third is decentralization, which basically means if I'm a game developer, I don't necessarily control the database or the data. I'm using a network of computers to manage all of that data. First, let's touch on blockchains, currencies, and gaming. So there's tons of games out there that have their own currencies like Fortnite or Roblox, but all of their currencies are only useful within their game. So if they instead use a blockchain to manage all of their currencies, then they're able to take it outside the game and they can turn their play money into real money. So let's say a game like Fortnite decides they want to start selling merchandise, things like clothing, toys to kids. What they could do is launch their own pop-up shops, and in those pop-up shops, they'll only accept V-Bucks. So now it gives another use to their in-game currency that they can use outside of that world. So now the company behind Fortnite will be able to accept V-Bucks across all their products and services, but they're not going to want to hold on to all of those V-Bucks. They still need to pay their employees in their local currencies, whether that's USD or Japanese yen, and they're going to have to interact with suppliers that are also only going to accept USD. So what they can do, that's another great feature of blockchains and having their currency on a blockchain, is they can easily swap between currencies. So let's say they decide they're accepting V-Bucks on their front end. As soon as they accept that payment, it gets swapped out for USDC or a stablecoin that allows them to do their regular day-to-day operations. Now, where this gets really interesting is they're going to have to swap between their own V-Bucks and real-world local currencies. So at some point, they're going to have a reserve of all these currencies that are actually backing the V-Bucks. So that takes it from kind of this in-game digital currency to something that's legitimate and real that could be traded across currency markets. So we may be entering a future real soon where there's some digital currencies that are just as powerful as some country currencies. Now let's touch on asset ownership in gaming. In almost every game today, you can purchase individual assets of the games. Some games sell skins, weapons, maps, environments, and games like Fortnite even sell dance animations for individual characters. The way things are developed today, all of that data and asset ownership is being managed by one company. So if you buy a sword in one game, you can't reuse that sword across different games. Now this is the game changer in Web3 development. If you purchase a weapon in one game, you'll be able to use it across several different games. And if you purchase something like an animation for one of your characters, you'll be able to use that same animation for other characters. So if you buy a dance in Fortnite, you'll be able to do that same dance when you pull off your finisher in Mortal Kombat. Now some may question, how could I use a gun that comes from one game and use it in another game if the art style is different, maybe the functionality is a bit different? So as of right now, a lot of those games are manually creating their counterparts to those games. But as AI gets more advanced, I could easily see a conversion tool between games. So if you have an asset in Fortnite, we have an algorithm that automatically converts the art so that it looks good in Mortal Kombat. Since the asset's being tracked across several different databases as opposed to one company, even if this company decides to shut down, you'll still have access to those assets and be able to use them across those different games. So we talked about how currencies can influence gaming and how asset ownership will influence them. But let's talk about the mix between them and what happens when you put all of your data on chain. So first, the most obvious one is trading. Right now, if you make a trade, it's usually within one game. So I'll trade you one skin for another skin. And that's only if there's a marketplace within the game that allows that. If you have everything on chain, then you can do something like a decentralized swap, where I'm swapping, let's say, one skin from one game for a skin from an entirely different game, or I can swap you one currency for several different skins and weapons across different games. So it allows for more complex trading. The trading component is also useful for if I want to go on to another game, but there's someone who I know who's entering this game that I have already played. So I can trade with them, let's say, my old skins for something they have in this new game. And if you bought a game, I bought a game, we can kind of swap our experiences out without us having to repurchase the same items. Not only does it allow trading, but it also allows betting. So let's say I have an intense rivalry with someone. I can bet them a particular item. So if they lose this fight, then they lose that item. But I could also bet them for currency. They'll lose that currency. And it doesn't necessarily have to be from this game again. It could be from several different games. So I beat this person, they're giving me 5 different skins from 5 different games. Now, what happens when you have all of your data on chain? So not only the transactions, the ownership, but every single movement, every single action that's being done in the game is being documented on a blockchain. Now, when this happens, this opens up a whole new world of opportunity. So for one, people can create their own unique experiences for these games. So if you are playing Mario Party, now people will have the opportunity to contribute their own maps to Mario Party, and you can purchase maps from each other to play within those games. And if you have other similar games like other board games, you'll be able to swap those maps between those games as well. And not only that, you can create your own interfaces for games entirely. So I've seen examples where someone's playing a real strategy game. So things are happening live and one person is looking at a map and experiencing it that way. But someone could also play that same game from their phone texting troops where to go. So you can create completely different experiences for the same game and people can experience it differently. So by having all of the data on chain, it allows everyone to become a contributor of the game. So now you're not only playing games, you're kind of actively creating the game with everyone in this community. It's going to be awesome to watch people create an asset or a character in one game and watch them leap into other games in different genres and become a legendary character that people recognize no matter where they are. There's tons more that'll happen with blockchain and gaming, but that's my speed run for today, so let me know what you think.